The Patriots Dynasty from 2001 to 2019 may be the greatest dynasty in all sports. Over those 19 years, they won 17 division titles, 9 conference championships, and 6 Super Bowls. That run included a nearly perfect season, an unprecedented stranglehold over their division, and, well...
Toss to White. He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl! Brady has his 5th! What a comeback!
28-3. But what made this dynasty even more special and definitely less respected were the multitude of different controversies and scandals that led many to discredit the roller coaster that was this dynasty. However, I want to walk through the scandals and truly find if the dynasty was for real or manufactured through cheating. Like all good stories, we must start from the beginning. The 2000 NFL Draft. The first round had its fair share of great picks. You had Plaxico Burress, John Abraham, future MVP Shaun Alexander, and future Hall of Famer Brian Urlacher. The Raiders also picked Sebastian Janikowski in the first round, which was their best pick of the draft, although you could make an argument for Shane Lechler in the 5th. The rest, other than the second round, was actually pretty solid. You had the occasional steal, Laveranius Coles in the 3rd, Niall Diggs in the 4th, Kabir Baja-Bielmila in the 5th, and then the 6th round came. There were 5 quarterbacks taken in the 6th round. 3 of them turned into nothing, 2 of which had 1 or less passing attempts, and the one that threw a pass ended with negative yards. 2-time Pro Bowler Mark Bolger was selected to the Rams to be a backup for Kurt Warner, which only lasted a year and a half before he was a starter, and he made a great career for himself on bad teams.
Seriously, how many reasons you need to pick me for fantasy football? There's one. Another. Honestly, I could do this all day. I'd pick me.
However, there was one more quarterback taken. One that would lead to the greatest dynasty of all time.
Football players who were college stars. Among the last 6 picks taken, a familiar name if you're a college football fan, Tom Brady, the quarterback who all he did was lead this football team, put them in the right position more times than not. And when he got pulled from the game and Drew Henson came in, Michigan football was not as good as it was when Brady was in.
No question, Mike.
Now, Brady didn't come in and win the starting job right away. I mean, he was a 6th round pick after all. In fact, he barely made the team in his first season. However, as the 2001 season rolled around, he had won the backup role pretty handily. Come week 2, he was put in after Drew Bledsoe got injured, and the rest is history. New England finished the season 11-3 with Brady as the full-time starter and on a 6-game win streak, heading into a divisional match with the Raiders. The snow was coming down hard, one of those snow games that were inevitably going to be low scoring, which it was. With 12:30 to go in the 4th quarter, the Patriots got the ball on their own 35, down 13-3. The offense to this point had been stagnant, but that's when Brady went to work. He threw the ball 9 straight times, completing all of them, and ran the ball 6 yards to punch it in the end zone with 7:52 still to play. After a couple of defensive stops and a stalled drive of their own, the Pats got the ball back on their own 46 after a great punt return. And then on the Oakland's 42 with 1:50 to play.
From the 42. Blitz. Lost the football. It's on the ground. Covered by the Raiders.
And just like that, the Patriots had thought they lost the game. I mean, they thought it was a fumble. The Raiders thought it was a fumble. Brady thought it was a fumble. The offense was walking off the field, but being under 2 minutes, the play was put under review.
All he was covered.
After reviewing the play, the quarterback's arm was going forward. It is an incomplete pass.
How is that not a fumble, you may be asking? Well, by today's football standards, it would be. Brady had possession of the football and was not in a throwing motion. However, in 2001, there was a rule, the tuck rule, that made it so the play was actually not a fumble. Well, okay, it still might have been, even with the tuck rule in place, but it really came down to the refs' discretion. And unless the refs were paid off by Robert Kraft, the Patriots didn't cheat in this case. Sure, it was still a massive controversy that went in the Patriots' favor, and many people still say the Raiders got screwed, and the tuck rule got voted out 29-1 in 2013. But they didn't cheat. And no, the Patriots weren't the rogue vote. That honor went to the Steelers. But the Patriots did abstain from the vote. Tom Brady completed one more pass to get the Patriots in field goal range, and Adam Vinatieri hit the 45-yarder despite the snow to send the game into overtime, then the 23-yarder to win this game, and also a 48-yarder to win the Super Bowl. Not a shabby playoffs from him. The potential greatest dynasty even started in controversy, and it didn't end there. In fact, it's possible that not even 2 weeks after the Tuck Rule play, they won the Super Bowl with the help of Spygate. So just 2 weeks after the Tuck Rule game, the Patriots were in the Super Bowl, their first with Tom Brady, against the greatest show on turf. In a game where the Rams were favored by 14, the Pats were the team that were actually up by 14 with 12 minutes to go. The Rams didn't sit idly by and die, however, tying the game with just over a minute left. A minute that Brady would use to drive the Patriots down for a 48-yarder with a chance to win the Super Bowl.
Two of the greatest kicks that I've ever seen in my life.
Here comes one of greater importance if he makes it, and it's right down the pipe. Adam Vinatieri. No time on the clock, and the Patriots have won Super Bowl 36. Unbelievable.
Though it was a fantastic game, it introduced the first stepping stone onto a much greater cheating scandal, one that would come to a climax in 2007, with the Patriots getting off because of a baffling decision by new commissioner Roger Goodell. But first, we must start here. According to a Boston Herald report in 2008, an unnamed source close to the Patriots stayed back after the Patriots walkthroughs and videotaped the Rams walkthroughs to learn their plays. He then left and rode on the Patriots media shuttle back to the hotel. Marshall Faulk, running back for the Rams in the 2001 Super Bowl, also chimed in, saying that the Patriots somehow knew plays that they had just added during that walkthrough. Now, the report was later retracted, however, we don't know why. Sure, they said it was because the report was false, but we truly will never know. In fact, we will never know if that tape ever existed because of the climax to the entire Spygate debacle. In September of 2015, while the Patriots were dealing with another cheating scandal, a massive report came out detailing what happened during Spygate. This report talked about all sorts of cheating, sending low-level employees during pregame warm-ups to steal play sheets from opposing teams, which got so bad, they had to put out fake play sheets for them to steal. It also talked about scrambling and jamming radio signals for opponents' headsets. It even explained how Peyton Manning would leave the locker room to talk about plays just in case the room was bugged. But the final and biggest topic they talked about was Spygate. According to the report, advanced scouts would be sent to the games of upcoming Patriots opponents to film play call signals. They would be listed as Patriots TV or Kraft Productions or some kind of BS like that. They would always have excuses at the ready. They would bring the video back and it would be edited. The Patriots eventually started a large library of tapes that one Patriots assistant coach said got out of hand. The system apparently grew to the point where they were adding and cutting players just to ask the effectiveness of the tapes. Eric Mangini, head coach of the Jets and former Patriots coach, realized that the Patriots were filming teams and ordered their security to be on high alert as they caught a Patriots employee filming their team. Before investigators went to look for the tapes, Goodell had already fined Belichick $500,000 and the Patriots $250,000 in a first-round pick. But this is where the story gets weird, confusing, and just downright baffling. Investigators went to Foxborough, and sure enough, they found a room only accessible to Belichick and a few others that housed, and this comes directly from the report, a library of scouting material containing videotapes of opponent signals with detailed notes matching signals to plays from many teams going back 7 seasons. But just as quickly as the tapes were found, they were destroyed, never to be watched by anyone. Wait, what? Why? I mean, this was potentially the greatest and biggest cheating scandal of all time, and the evidence was literally in their hands. So why would they just destroy it? Well, I just told you the reason. It was potentially the biggest cheating scandal of all time. Now, whether Goodell wanted to sweep it under the rug for the quote-unquote NFL's sake or Robert Kraft's sake, as they were close friends after all, we may never know. Probably the latter, but I mean, who knows? Belichick later went on to say that this was a simple well, that's not his voice, a simple misunderstanding of the scouting rules. A lazy excuse if I ever heard one. The report really opened up everyone's eyes to just how severe Spygate may have been. If what this report said was true, you're looking at the potential that the first 3 championships in the Patriots Dynasty could be theoretically just taken away. I mean, that's cutting the championships won in half, and maybe this dynasty never gets started at all. The rightful criticism led Goodell to take a stance that any team caught cheating will be dealt with forcefully, something that the Patriots would feel in 2015. On January 18th of 2015, the Patriots took on the Indianapolis Colts in the AFC Conference Championship game. Just off beating their old quarterback Peyton Manning in the divisional game, the Colts were riding high. However, they were severely outmatched. The Pats took them down easily with a score of 45-7, and the Patriots were back in the Super Bowl with a chance to win for the first time in 10 years. It's safe to say it had been a while, maybe even long enough for them to cheat. Right before the end of the first half, DeQuell Jackson intercepted Tom Brady and handed the ball to an equipment manager who noticed the ball seemed underinflated and went to notify their head coach, Chuck Pagano. You might be asking, what does it matter? I mean, they won by almost 40 points against the Colts, and there's no way that the Colts win that game. Well, you're right, in this game. The Colts were a team carried by the quarterback with no offensive line and little defense, and the Patriots ran for almost 200 yards. It's safe to say the Colts were not gonna win this game. But in a game where Brady had to throw for 400 yards compared to the Patriots running for just 14, just to win by 4, it might matter a little more there. And if they were caught cheating in the AFC Championship, it's safe to say they were probably cheating during both of their playoff games, and maybe during the entire year. 4 months and a Super Bowl win later, a report came out that the NFL found it more probable than not that Patriots personnel deliberately deflated footballs during the AFC Championship game, and that Brady was probably at least generally aware of the rules violations. Now, if that sounds too vague and open-ended and overall not reliable, it's because it is. Using words like more probable than not and probably at least generally aware allows the NFL to cover a large spectrum of possibilities and punish the Patriots even if they weren't guilty. With the report, the Patriots were fined $1 million, lost a first-round pick in 2016 and a fourth in 2017, and Tom Brady was suspended for 4 games. All that being said, it's important to know what the Wells report said to really decide if the Patriots were innocent or not. According to Kevin Hassett, Stan Voiger, and Joseph Sullivan of the New York Times, the Wells report hinges on one key factor, that the Patriots' balls were in fact more underinflated than the Colts' balls. However, there are still 2 potential answers to why this is. The first being that the Patriots' balls were intentionally underinflated, and the second being that the Colts' balls weren't deflated enough. And when they analyzed the data in the Wells report, I mean, that's exactly what they found. The Colts' balls were actually significantly higher in air pressure than expected, while the Patriots' balls were around normal. Now, how could this be? Well, in the report, they noted that only 4 of the 12 Colts' balls were checked because they ran out of time. This meant the Patriots' balls were measured first while the Colts' balls sat in a warm room and gained air pressure. This led the team to conclude that this report was unreliable at best and a straight lie at worst. Well, that leads to the question, what would be the motive of the NFL and Roger Goodell to drag on Deflategate and punish the Patriots so severely? Well, in my opinion, it's to make up for the lack of punishment in Spygate. Like I noted earlier, Spygate may have been much bigger than it was originally thought, and the NFL let the Patriots off very easily after Goodell had only been the commissioner for 6 months. Deflategate was an issue that was muddy through and through, and one we may never truly know the answer to. Were the Patriots underinflating footballs? Was this a makeup call for the Spygate debacle that so many criticized Goodell for? Would the Colts have lost by 30 instead of 40 if the Patriots had not been cheating? I mean, probably not. That team was awful, and Grigson ruined the career of Andrew Luck, and I will never forgive him. There is only one thing we do know. The Patriots won the Super Bowl in 2015, and that's something that will not be taken away. So, if they were cheating, they really got away with it. You would think 2 major scandals and multiple controversies would be enough for a single head coach. However, you'd be wrong. During Week 14 of the 2019 season, the Patriots sent scouts to the Browns-Bengals game to prepare for their matchup with the Bengals the following week. The scouts, however, were caught filming the Bengals sideline, eerily similar to what the original Spygate entailed. Because of the murky past, this became huge and Belichick was obviously forced to comment on it, claiming that they had no idea about this and they had zero involvement.
But boy, this one here makes you question, especially when you go back. If what Warren Sharp said was true, which I would assume it is, he's like a nerd. That's what Warren Sharp is. Analysis and trends and everything like that. He's a nerd person. So I don't think he would get on a show, nationally syndicated, pretty large, and just completely lie. What he said was, in the past, they already had built-in excuses ready for them, which the guy said, oh, this is for a documentary series. They had shots of the sideline, then shots of other things. Boom, that's what they did here. I mean, it's all kind of reminiscent of the glory days when we could potentially be hitting a little bit of a downfall. And as a fan of the Patriots and as a fan of success and a fan of winning, this would be heartbreaking if this is what was happening yet again for the Patriots. And boy, that asterisk, which a lot of people have next to the Patriots, is only going to get bigger from this. And if you're a Patriots fan, you're like, you know what? We do what we have to do to win. But even this is crossing the line, I'd assume.
I went ahead and put this clip in there. I thought he did a great job kind of explaining his thoughts on the situation. And he later talked about how, similar to Deflategate, it wasn't about this game, but the fact that they were probably doing stuff like this for the entire year.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look good for the Patriots because when you think about the Patriots, you think about the history over the last few years of some of the other incidents that they have been involved in. And when you hear the scout go, I didn't know I could do that. I don't know what I'm shooting. If you don't know that you can't do something, you don't know what you're shooting, then why did you have that job? Why are you there? And I think that's where you watch that tape and you kind of, you make your assumption however you want to make it, but I just think that it makes you go, what's going on here? It seems a little deeper.
I can't imagine after writing a check for $500,000 is what Coach Belichick had to do, and losing a #1 pick the last time they had this. I just can't imagine. I can't fathom that ever being a case where he is actively involved.
My point is this: maybe it's hubris, whatever, and if it is what it is, then so be it. But I find it hard to believe that Bill Belichick or anyone on that staff would be this dumb to do something this blatant with someone in a New England Patriots jersey shooting the sideline and the substitutions. It's shocking.
Team that they can beat.
But hold on. But at the same time, you can't say for a team that they can beat. That's a bad excuse because this is a team with a new head coach where they have no film. Right. They don't know they don't know anything about this guy's system. Well, this is a way to compile information on a new coach's system. So you can't just say, well, they should beat this team. If that were the case, none of this stuff in the past would have happened.
That clip was from Fox Sports, and they were giving their different viewpoints on Deflategate 2.0, and they all had really good points. Yes, when you think about the Patriots, you think of cheating, and the excuses seem very forced. However, that's exactly why it doesn't seem plausible that Belichick would go through this again. I mean, it just seems too easy. Obviously, if you see a Patriots employee filming a game, the first thought that comes to your head is Spygate. So why even bother when you know your own reputation? But it was a new coach and a new system that was potentially getting a generational talent at quarterback in next year's draft, which they went on and did. After the season, however, the Patriots eventually admitted to illegally filming 8 minutes of the Bengals sidelines for a documentary, Do Your Job. Now, whether or not this is the truth, again, just like most of these, we will never know. And while the NFL took its time to give the punishment, they did not go easy. In the June of 2020, the NFL fined the Patriots $1.1 million and a third-round draft pick, further tainting an already tainted dynasty. But that was not the only interesting thing of 2019 for the Patriots, as this season would turn out to be Brady's final ride with the team. Now, we would like to think that 6 championships would seal any relationship together. However, the Patriots may be proof that isn't true. The whole world knew the relationship between Brady and Belichick was souring, and the potential for a breakup was an all-time high. Before the 2019 season, Brady restructured his contract so the Patriots would have extra money. However, he added a wrinkle that stated he could not be franchise tagged after that season. And that doubt rode through the season, with Spygate 2 into a 12-4 record in a wildcard match against the Tennessee Titans, coached by a man who was on the Patriots in 2001 for the first Super Bowl, Mike Vrabel. Patriots fans were hoping for a storybook ending, but it wasn't meant to be.
The dynasty to end it.
The two of them together.
Yes. I mean, we'll never see this run again, Jim. Brady's pass. It's intercepted and returned for a touchdown by Logan Ryan, the former Patriot.
Brady's final pass was an interception to former Patriot Logan Ryan to seal the Patriots and their dynasty's fate. Tom Brady would go on to sign with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and win a Super Bowl, while the Patriots struggled without their franchise quarterback and missed the playoffs for the first time in 12 years, in their first losing season since Tom Brady wasn't even on the team. I wonder if that's a coincidence. And well, I mean, to be fair, probably not. They did also lose like 9 defensive players for that year because of COVID, so I mean, they ended up coming back next year and doing pretty well, so maybe it wasn't a coincidence. Anyway, the dynasty ended very anticlimactically. This dynasty is statistically one of the greatest of all time, just with a massive asterisk next to it. They may have won 6 Super Bowls, but should they count? Do the multiple scandals and cheating cancel out the accomplishments they accrued over those 19 years? I've been saying this a lot, but I mean, we may never know. But it doesn't change the fact that this dynasty was a spectacle that gave everyone someone to root against. Some people would have done anything to see it end, but now that it has, what do? Do we move over to root against Tom Brady now that he's back out of retirement? Continue to root against the Patriots and Tom Brady Jr.? Because there probably won't be another supervillain in football that will reach the magnitude of divisiveness that the Patriots reached. The Patriots dynasty may not be missed, but it surely will never be forgotten. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I've been sitting on the script for a long time. I mean, all the way back to last summer, and I finally put time into making it reality. For me, this was the first time I truly dug deep into the cheating of the Patriots, and I found a lot of interesting things. Also, I've been streaming a lot over on Twitch. My account will be in the description, so if that's your thing, I would love for you guys to check it out. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more. And until next time, this is Lucas signing off, and I'll see you guys later.